Hello everyone. So for our digital system project, we built a Verilog code generator. This project was built under the guidance of Professor Joyce Meki, and the team members were Akshat, Gaurav, Shamir, and Aslam. So next we see what was our motivation behind building this project. As we all know, writing hardware code is very time consuming, especially for new students. So we wanted to eliminate this gap between the experienced and non-experienced people. Our idea was simple, that is to make some user-friendly interface for Verilog code generation. So even if someone is very new to the domain of hardware language programming, they can simply generate the codes for the modules and test cases as per their requirements by just providing some specific inputs to our program. We implemented the project for various modules like counters, registers, and flip-flops, and the Verilog code generated was very effective and which really fastened the programming process. So this is the basic overview of our plan. We give certain inputs to our Verilog code generator, and these inputs are generally like the number of grids. Either we want the structural or behavioral implementation, something like that. And the Verilog code generator generates the Verilog code for both the modules and test benches, which can be run and verified either on EDA Playground or VBAD. This is the list of modules that we implemented. We implemented the counter modules for up counter, down counter, ring counter, Johnson counter, and test bench. Similarly, we implemented the modules for CISO registers, shift registers, assembler registers, P4 registers, etc. We also implemented the flip-flop modules for D flip-flop, T flip-flop, JK flip-flop, and SR flip-flop. Now coming to the floating point arithmetic operation units. In this modules, we implemented the arithmetic operations for like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division for floating point numbers, that is decimal numbers. In these modules, we used the IEEE 754 format to represent the decimal numbers with single precision, that is 32 bits. The user gives two input decimal numbers to our program, and the Verilog code for doing the arithmetic operation on these decimal or floating point numbers is generated. As bonus work, we also implemented the FSM modules, in which we input a state table and generate the respective Verilog code for both mode and mean FSMs. This was our rough project timeline, and we have also deployed our project for demo purposes on Heroku platform, and the URL is shared here. And so we will now proceed to the live demo part of our project.
So now we are heading to our demo part. So here you can see that this is our web page where we deploy on all our codes, and here's a little bit description of our project in the homepage. So now we are heading to modules. So in modules you can see there are 5 modules for counters, register, flip flops, floating point, arithmetic operation units, and FSM. In FSM is our like bonus one. Like we get time, so we did that also. So in counters, let me give you a demo of all these 5 modules one by one. So in counters, let's see for counters. Here we are asking from the user the input as a number of bits and the what type of implementation they want, like behavioral or instruction. So suppose I give 4 as a number of bits and choose behavior. So after submitting, we get our code. So let's check whether our code is right or not on the EDA. So I will copy paste this generated code on EDA. Yeah, now I will select the tools that we need. Here I am selecting LDEC on the OpenEMA option. Now we run this code. Yeah, as you know, we give input as 4. So the maximum number we get from 4 bits is 2 to the power 4 minus 1. That is 50. So our up counter will count from 0 to 50. So from EMWave you can also see that our counter is counting the same, like 0, 1, 2 until F is 15 in binary. And after that it starts recounting. Like after 15 it goes to 0 and then it starts counting once again. So and we build this counter. Yeah. So that's it for up counter. And for down counter, the similar code is there. Instead of adding, we are subtracting 1. So in the previous demo, we see the up and down counter. Now we can see the Johnson counter. So Johnson counter, basically it's a counter that in that counter only one bit will change as we count. So let's suppose I give input as in 3 bits. Okay, and submit it. Yeah, here we get the code for the Johnson counter. Let's copy this counter, and for this counter we used D flip flop. So here I will copy the module of the Johnson counter and the test bench here. Now I will run that code. Yeah, so as you can see, the Johnson counter, the change in bit is one, like it is hexadecimal count. Like, yeah, if you notice the bit changes only one. Like initially we have 4 zeros, then one bit will change. Like first MSB got 1 and other 2 are 0. Then other bit will change to 1, then or 3 are 1. Then again the last bit will become 0, and then that process will go on. So as you can see, we are getting the result. To prove that also, we can see the output in our book, like the example in our book. So in book also you can see that we have the output for 3-bit Johnson counter is 0000, then 100, then 110, and then 111, then again 011, then 001, and then again 0, and this will goes on. So from our even the way we can see the same results we are getting from this code generated from our website. So now we can head to ring counter. Ring counter will count in the multiples of 2, like 1, 2, 4, 8. So let's suppose I give 5 bits, so it will count 0, 2, 4, 8, 16, and 32. So let's copy paste this code in the EDA playground and check whether it's giving the right results or not. So here is the module, and here is the test box. Okay, now we can run this code. Yeah, so here you can see we are getting the multiples of 2, 1, 2, 4, 8, and then I should change it to X. Like you can see, like we are getting the count as in multiples of 2, like 1, 2, 4, 8, and 0, 1 is 16 actually. Like we are representing in hex formation, so 1, 0 is 16, and the same pattern will follow after the one. So we are getting these results also right, and we can confirm it by looking into book. In book we are also getting the same result. Like for 4 bits, the ring counter counting from 100 to 011, like this is 1, this is 16, and then this is 8, then this is 4, and then this is 1. So our result is right. So we can say that this code is working fine. So now we will see the implementation of register on the EDA framework, like whether we are getting the right results or not. So first we will look into SISO register. SISO means like the input is storing in flip-flop in serial mode, like one bit is stored at a time, and that bit then shift to the next flip-flop, and new bit will come into the first flip-flop. So and for output also we are getting the output in a serial manner, like one bit at a time. So let's suppose I give number of bits as in 4. Like in this also we are we are asking for number of bits as an input. So I will copy this code in the EDA playground, and let's check it whether it's working fine or not. So yeah, so here also we select the same tool and open EMDAV. Let's run this code. So as you can see, we give 4-bit input as in 111. So here you can see we are getting output. Like first in SISO we are the serial in and serial output fashion will follow. So here you can see the first bit will store first, then next bit will store, then third bit, then after having all the 4 bits stored in the 4 flip-flops, now the output will generating. Like now the last first flip-flop is empty, like we are shifting the bits now. So we are outputting the bits in a serial manner. So you can see the last bit getting 0, and then last 2 bits getting 0, then last 3, and then all output are 0, because now we didn't give any new input. So from that we can say that like this code is working fine. So now we go to the shift register. So in shift register also we are taking number of bits as an input. So let's suppose I give 4, and in shift there is an option of left or right, like what kind of shift you want. Let's suppose I choose left and submit it. Now we get the module and test benches. Let's check it on EDA playground whether its code is right or not. So I copy paste I copy paste this code in the PDF diagram, as you can see. Yeah. So in shift left, and here we also have to choose the tools and other thing, other options. So here I'm choosing Android Preview Pro and OpenEML. So as I run this code, and we are giving 4 bit 1 as an input. So here you can see we give 1 as an input in, and it stores in queue. After storing to queue input in the queue, we are doing left shift. So as you can see, the 1 getting shipped by 1 bit. So you can see, like, after 1 1 1 there is only 3 1, and the last bit becomes 0. After that, 2 1s and last 2 bit becomes 0, then 1, and then all bits are 0. So after that, we didn't give any new input, so our output will remain the 0. So this one is also working fine now. We see the shift register implementation. Before now, we go ahead with circular register implementation. Here also we need number of bits as an input. I give suppose I give 5 number of bits and write circular shift. So after submitting, I got the code for the same parameters, like same functions. So for checking the code, I will run this code on the EDF playground. So I'll just copy paste this code here, and also the test match. Yeah. After that, I will choose the tools, and now we have only need 5 bits. Yeah. So now, as you see, we gave 10101 as an input, and now we have to see whether our result is right, like we are doing the right circulation. So here you can see our output has initially the input value, then you can see the value of 1 got shifted in right, like this LSB got shifted to the MSB, and the second bit 0 comes forward, and this process will goes on. So from that we can say that, like, code is working fine for right circulation. So after having demo for registers, we go ahead for flip-flops. In flip-flops, like, the modules does not have much to show. Like, for suppose for JK flip-flop, like in flip-flops they are fixed set of inputs and outputs. So as you can see, this implementation is very easy. Like, J is equals to 0 and K is equals to 0, Q, like the output will become the previous state, and when J is 0 and K 1, the output will be 0, and for J1 K 0, then output should be 1, and for 1 1, the output should be the negation of the. So guys, now we look into the demo part of floating point arithmetic. So this is quite an interesting topic because we are adding, like, for addition and subtraction, we are adding and subtract two decimal point that we didn't do in, like, in general our DS project, DS code. So here we did that, and also in multiplication and division we are doing floating points multiply from multiplication and division. So let's go for addition. So addition is you can give inputs as any floating numbers, and also in floating points we are using IEEE 754 format for representing decimal numbers. So in that also we are using a single precision precisely. Single precision means we are using 32 bits to represent the floating point number. So what 32 bit exactly represent is, the first bit is for sign bit. Like, if sign bit is 0, that means that number is positive. Sign bit is negative, then like, if first bit is 1, then it's negative number. Okay. After that, the next 8 bits are for exponent. Exponent is representing the after how many decimal, like the position of the decimal, you can say. And rest 23 bits is for Mantis, and there exactly we are storing our numbers. So let's suppose we are using some 10-bit convention for addition for an example. So in that 10-bit addition example, suppose first bit is representing the sign, next 5 bits for Mantis, and last 4 bits for exponent. So here you can see 2 examples. So let's suppose this is the first number and the other one is the second number. So in that you can see the first number has 0 as an sign bit, means the number is positive, and same for the second number. The first MSB bit is 0, so second number is also positive. After that we look into the exponent part. In exponent you can see this 4 digit is equivalent to 3 in decimal, and in second number this 4 digit is equivalent to 2. So exponent is 2 to the power 3 and 2 to the power 7. So for addition we need to care of the exponent. Like, for adding two numbers, the exponent should be equal, and for making two numbers exponent equal, we have to shift the difference between the exponent in the second number, like, which have the lesser exponent. So here you can see. see the Mantissa. So for first number the Mantissa is 1000. So we put the same thing here, and but for second number the Mantissa is 10010, but we shift it to by 1 bit because their exponent difference is 1. So we shifted to 1 bit and we got 01001. After that, after that we got we have exponent 3. So after three numbers we got the dot sign, like the position of the float, like decimal. So this number is represented by 4, and for second number, after shifting we got 0.01001. So after shifting 2 bits, that decimal will be after 3 points, so we get 10.01, which is equivalent to 2.25. After that we just add these two numbers, 4 plus 2.5, which is 6.25. So the answer should contain the same sign, like the sign will be, the sign of the addition will be equivalent to the larger numbers, whichever has larger Mantissa. So the sign will be the larger Mantissa numbers for the result. So our larger number is 4, so the sign of the first number 4 is 0. So our answer contains the 0 as a sign bit, and the exponent will be the same, like 3. So here we are using the exponent 3 and plus some bias. Like for exponent we usually use some bias. So here we are using 31 as an bias, plus 31. So this is the exponent part. Like 3 is an exponent here. So 3 is an exponent part, and after that we just add the Mantissa. So after adding Mantissa we got this result. So I think this will be clear for how we are doing addition in using this format. So let's see our floating adder, how this code is working. So here I am giving A as in 7.25 and B as in 6.25. So as you know, the sum of 7.25 plus 6.2 is 13.45. Let's see what we are getting by code. So after submitting we got the code. So I will copy paste this code on the EDA playground and check it what answer we are getting. So here I will copy the module, and for test bench I also copy the test bench. So I will run this code. So after running this code, here you can see like 0 bit is for a sign bit, and I give both the number as positive, so sign bit is 0, and next 8 bit is representing exponent, and rest 23 bits is representing Mantissa. So now after adding these two numbers we are getting sum as in this sum as this, we are getting this result sum. So now we using some other tool we just convert this, we are confirming this is the right answer or not. The summation, the addition of 7.25 plus 6.2 is 13.5. So let's see what this binary form is representing. So here it's a IEEE 754 converter. So here I put 13.45 as a decimal point and convert it to binary. So this is the binary representation of 13.45 in IEEE 754. So and we are getting the same, like you can see 0 1, then 70, and then after 1010. Here also 0 1, after 70, then 1010, after that 10111, and here also you can see 10111, then 001100. So after addition, for in subtraction there is only one change. Like in subtraction what we are doing, in addition we are doing a plus b, and in subtraction we are doing a minus b. So for subtraction we just we follow the same code, just there is a only difference is that a plus b. So the code will remain the same. Here we are only changing the sign of b. So subtractor, there is not much new in subtraction. Now we can go ahead for multiplication details.
Now I will walk through how multiplication is done in floating point arithmetic unit. So as you can see, we used IEEE 754 as input. In IEEE 754, the first bit or the most MSB would be the sign bit. To get the resultant sign bit, we XOR the sign bits of the two inputs to get and we take the Mantissas of the two inputs and we multiply both. And if the result of the multiplication is greater than 2, we will normalize by right shifting, and okay, we'll right shift such that the Mantissa is less than in between 1 and 2. Now we will deal with the exponents. We will add the two exponents plus the extra component which we got by the normalization part, and we'll subtract the bias involved in the IEEE from the decimal to IEEE conversion. In the final result would be in the format sine bit, exponent, Mandisa. Here sine bit would be of 1 bit, exponent would be of 8 bits, and Mandisa would be of 23 bits, as you can see in the IEEE representation. In division, the same method of a similar way of multiplication is followed. To get a sine bit, we will XOR the sine bit of both inputs. To get the exponents, we will subtract the two exponent and add the bias. Earlier, we have added the two exponents and subtracted the bias. So there's a change which we can notice here. Then the division part, we will find the two. We will separate the two Mandisas from the IEEE format and we will divide it individually. And again, if the number is greater than 3, we would round off the result, but most of the cases it would be less than 2. And the final results would be can be expressed in the form sine bit, exponent, Mandisa, as we did in multiplication. Let me take you through the demo of multiplication module. So this is a multiplication module. Let's take 125.125 float as the first number and 12.0625 as the second number. When I click the submit button, I'm getting a test bench for the example and the design module. And here, if we have written a Python program so that whatever decimal input we give, it will get automatically converted to IEEE 754 format. So 125.125's IEEE 754 is as shown here. So we can just compare it with here. So this is the IEEE representation of 125.125. Now let's check that of the 12.065. As you can see, it is the same. Now let's test the authenticity of the code by running it in EDA Playground. Let me copy it. Just refresh it. Okay. Here I had copied the design module. Now let me copy the test bench. It's fine. Let me just. Okay, I have output here. Let me take the output. Now, if I multiply those two numbers, I will get 1509.3203125. Now, if I convert that number to IEEE 745, I will be getting this representation. We just compare it with what we got. So this is exactly the same which we got from there. So this proves that our model, our floating point arithmetic unit is working fine. So we were interested in FSMs. So we thought how it would be better if we could convert, if you have a state table and if you need a Verilog code for the same. So we had implemented that for both mode implementation and melee implementation. For mode implementation, as you can see on the screen, we have taken the state table as an input. So I have also added instructions how we should give the inputs. So in the present state, you can give the inputs as numbers, not numbers, alphabets. And here output, it should be in either binary, either 1 or 0. So let's go for an example here. So I will take the example which is shown here in the instruction itself for easy purpose. So I will use a two-state FSM, which has A and B as states, and state A has 0 output and state B has 1 output. And when I give input as 1, it will go from state A to B, and when I am at B, if I give again W0, it will return to A. If I am at B, if I give input 1, it would be at 1 and it will output 1. So if I submit the code, I will get the code for that. Let me test whether it's working or not. I pasted the design part. Now let me paste the test bench part. Yes, as you can see, it is working fine. When we had given the input 1, it was at 1. Again, when we give the input 0, it came back to zeros. Then again, if I start 1, it will again go to 1. And again, if I just continue, it is 1. Then again, it would be 1. And again, zeros. Yes. So basically, our model is giving the correct result for FSMs. Similarly, we have also implemented the state table converter for mealy implementation also. So the main difference here it would be for the output is also dependent on the current input. So here also we can give a test case. So we will go for an easy case. It will work for any number of states. We have tested for bigger ones, but here for simplicity we will go with the same example, similar example which we gave for mealy. Sorry. Again, if I submit, I'll check the authenticity of this code. Yes, I will copy paste the test benches. Yes, and we'll run the code. Again, yes, as you can see, again we are getting the output as we have expected. So it is a similar one. So yes, now let's move on to the backend part, how we had developed this program and the coding part. This is our project repository, as you can see. So we have organized the files very neatly. So this is the main main file app.py. Here, from here we organizes all the pages, how to which page we should go, and how we will collect the inputs, and how we should deal with the IEEE conversion, and everything is done here. Again, here we import many different Python modules also for the same purpose. Then again, different modules you can see here in pages. If you go, there are separate. We have created 5 divisions for that. You can see counters, flip-flops, floating modules, and FSMs, registers. So each counters there would be different forms. So that's how we took the inputs. Again, we will have the separate HTML page for each of the modules. So in each of the modules we will have separate Jinja templating, so that we will get the output according to the user inputs. Similarly, we have done for each and every modules. In FSMs, to get the dynamic table, we have used JavaScript, which we had written it by ourselves. So we have totally included a good tech stack. We have used Flask for Flask for the web development. In the meantime, we have used HTML and CSS for the design and building of the web page, and JavaScript for various animations and the dynamicity involved in the web page. And of course, the Jinja template. So as you can see, this is a template, a similar template which we wrote for the FSO modules. So for each and every, to satisfy each and every case, we took the present state and next states from the user. Then we will store it in a dictionary, such that if you want to write the code, we will go through each dictionaries, and we will take the required elements accordingly. And we have dealt with multiple cases using the Jinja template. As you can see, these all are many case statements as well as different loops. So this was a very challenging part here, the parameterization and generalization, so that even when we were testing for our solution, we tested for different cases. So even though we had prepared the code for some bigger cases, initially it was not working for the smaller cases. Again, we debugged the entire code for the smaller cases, and now we checked for all the cases, and it was working very fine. So that's all from our part. Then as a future work, we would like to it would be better if you could extend the current modules and include more modules to the web app. And the input, as of now, we can also focus on how the inputs are taken from the users, and we could give more flexibility to the users to choose what elements they want in their project, and how many modules in a way. And even in a later part we can help them build a good design which is more efficient and which need very less hardware requirements and all. Yes, it was a very nice experience doing the TS project and we learned a lot from that. Thank you very much.